For nearly 40 days before the explosion, Deepwater Horizon had been drilling into one of the most unstable oil reservoirs BP had ever attempted to tap. Pressure readings fluctuated unpredictably, equipment failures slowed progress, and engineers debated last-minute design changes while costs climbed by the hour. But on the night of April 20th, 2010, none of that seemed to matter anymore. The well appeared finished. The danger, everyone believed, was behind them. At 9:49 p.m., a column of fire erupted from the surface of the Gulf of Mexico, shooting higher than the drilling rig itself. The blast shook the platform violently, knocking men off their feet and tearing through steel walls as if they were paper. Within minutes, Deepwater Horizon was engulfed in flames. 11 workers would never make it home. What followed would become the largest marine oil spill in history. But the true disaster did not begin with an explosion. It began much earlier, through a series of quiet decisions made far from public view. Technical judgments, cost calculations, and assumptions that slowly dismantled every layer of protection standing between a volatile well and open ocean. Deepwater Horizon was one of the most advanced offshore drilling rigs ever constructed. Built in 2001, it was designed to operate in water depths exceeding 5,000 feet. Using satellite-guided dynamic positioning systems to hold itself steady above the seafloor. From the rig, a narrow steel pipe plunged nearly a mile through dark, pressurized Gulf waters, then continued another 13,000 feet below the seafloor through layers of sediment and rock. At the bottom of that pipe lay the Macondo prospect, a high-pressure reservoir of oil and gas trapped beneath layers of rock. Accessing it was expensive, technically complex, and increasingly controversial inside BP itself. The deeper the well went, the more unpredictable it became. Delays mounted almost immediately. By April 2010, the project was more than 6 weeks behind schedule and over budget by tens of millions of dollars. Long before the explosion, Macondo had already earned a reputation as a problem well. Drilling logs showed unstable formations and unexpected pressure zones that made progress difficult and unpredictable. Engineers debated how best to seal the well once drilling was complete, fully aware that even small mistakes at this depth could have catastrophic consequences. One of the most critical steps was cementing, the process of pumping cement into the space between the steel casing and the surrounding rock to create a barrier preventing oil and gas from escaping. In deepwater drilling, cement is not merely structural, it is a primary safety system. At Macondo, the cement job was rushed. BP chose a nitrogen-foamed cement mixture that was lighter and faster to deploy, but also more prone to instability. Internal tests conducted by Halliburton, the contractor responsible for the cement, suggested the mixture might not properly seal the well. Instead of adding additional safeguards or retesting the cement, operations continued. Inside the borehole, oil and gas push upward with immense force. To counteract that pressure, crews pump heavy drilling mud down the pipe, using its weight to hold the hydrocarbons in place. If the mud becomes too light, oil and gas can surge upward uncontrollably. If it becomes too heavy, it can fracture surrounding rock and create new escape pathways. Maintaining balance requires precise calculations, careful testing, and a willingness to stop when results look wrong. At Macondo, that balance was already slipping. BP engineers selected a well design with fewer protective barriers than alternatives. They skipped additional tests that could have identified weaknesses in the well structure. Each decision saved time. Each one also reduced the margin of error. Individually, these choices seemed manageable. Together, they created a system that depended on everything going exactly right. At the base of the well sat the blowout preventer, a massive stack of valves and hydraulic rams weighing nearly 450 tons. Its purpose was simple in theory. If pressure surged out of control, the device would sever the pipe and seal the well. It was the final safeguard, the system designed for the moment when everything else failed. Industry confidence in the blowout preventer was absolute. Its reliability was assumed rather than questioned. On Deepwater Horizon, that assumption would prove fatal. Investigations after the disaster revealed that the blowout preventer had critical vulnerabilities. Its batteries were partially depleted, key components were miswired, and one of its most important safety features, the shear ram designed to cut through the drill pipe, had never been tested under realistic deepwater conditions. When the blowout occurred, the drill pipe was bent by extreme pressure, preventing the shear ram from sealing the well completely. The device designed to handle the worst-case scenario had never been proven capable of surviving it. Yet no one questioned its readiness. In the offshore drilling industry, the blowout preventer had become a guarantee rather than a backup. On April 20th, with drilling complete, the crew prepared to temporarily abandon the well. Before leaving, they performed a negative pressure test, a procedure meant to confirm that the well could hold back hydrocarbons under reduced pressure. The results were deeply troubling. Pressure readings fluctuated unpredictably. One gauge showed zero pressure, while another showed rising pressure where none should exist. Experienced crew members recognized the readings as a classic warning sign of a compromised well and raised concerns. BP representatives on the rig disagreed. After discussion, they concluded the test had been successful. It was not. In the aftermath, many asked why operations were not halted when the test results came back wrong. The answer lies in the culture of offshore drilling. Authority on rigs like Deepwater Horizon is divided. The drilling crew answers to Transocean, and the well design and operational decisions answer to BP. When disagreements arise, they are resolved through discussion rather than command. On April 20th, those discussions leaned toward optimism. Stopping operations would have meant acknowledging a serious problem, delaying completion, and absorbing yet more cost. The data was ambiguous enough to be explained away. And in high-pressure environments, ambiguity often becomes permission to proceed. By the time oil and gas began surging upward, there was no longer a decision to make. Physics had taken over. As hydrocarbons surged toward the surface, they displaced the heavy drilling mud meant to hold them back. With each barrel of mud forced out, the upward flow accelerated. Gas raced up the pipe faster than anyone realized. Gas alarms sounded, but the rig's general alarm system configuration delayed alerting the full crew. Warning systems were misinterpreted or bypassed, and by the time methane reached the rig floor, there was no opportunity left to intervene. At 9:49 p.m., the gas ignited. The first explosion ripped through Deepwater Horizon, followed moments later by a second blast. Fire spread rapidly across the platform. 11 men were killed almost instantly. For 36 hours, Deepwater Horizon burned. On April 22nd, it collapsed beneath the waves, tearing the drilling pipe apart as it sank. Oil began pouring freely from the broken wellhead nearly a mile below the surface. Only then did engineers confront a devastating reality. There was no proven method to stop a deepwater blowout at that depth. Early estimates suggested the leak was manageable. Those estimates were catastrophically wrong. Satellite images soon revealed a spreading slick covering thousands of square miles. Fishing grounds were closed, beaches darkened, and wildlife washed ashore coated in crude. The Gulf was bleeding, and the world watched in real time. BP tried solution after solution. Remote activation of the blowout preventer failed, a massive containment dome became clogged with methane hydrates, and a cut-and-capture effort siphoned off some oil while the majority continued to gush into the Gulf. Underwater cameras streamed footage of oil gushing endlessly from the broken wellhead. Millions watched as days turned into weeks. Each failed attempt eroded public confidence further. The spill became more than an environmental crisis, it became a crisis of credibility. For 87 days, oil poured into the Gulf. When the well was finally capped in July 2010 and permanently sealed in September, nearly 5 million barrels of oil had escaped into the ocean. The devastation was immense, both for people and for nature. Fishing communities collapsed overnight, tourism vanished along coastlines, and cleanup workers reported long-term health problems. Wildlife suffered as well. Dolphin populations declined sharply, and ecosystems were altered in ways scientists still struggle to fully measure. BP paid tens of billions of dollars in fines, settlements, and cleanup costs. Executives testified before Congress, regulations were rewritten, and promises were made. Investigations revealed a pattern extending far beyond a single company or rig. Regulators had grown too close to the industry they were meant to oversee. Safety exemptions were routinely granted. Risk assessments became paperwork rather than warnings. Deepwater Horizon was not an accident in the traditional sense. It was the predictable outcome of a system that rewarded speed over caution and certainty over doubt. Each shortcut reduced the margin for error. Each ignored warning narrowed the path to safety. And when the final safeguard was called upon, it was already too late. The explosion did not create the disaster. What burned on the surface that night was the visible result of choices made long before anyone smelled gas or saw fire. And as the Gulf went dark, the world was forced to confront a reality far more unsettling than an oil spill: that the most dangerous failures are the ones we believe cannot happen. Thank you everybody for watching. I make new videos every week, so if you'd like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd appreciate the support.